centuries. If it makes us travel farther, faster and higher, human nature and instinct has pushed us to race it.
Will it be a Jaguar at the front of the grid? Yes!
Driving an all-electric road car at breathtaking speed has always been a vision and a hope for the future. Well, the future is now. Because this is the Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY.
Back in Season 3, Jaguar were the first premium manufacturer to enter Formula E.
What a move from Mitch Evans, that's unbelievable!
Now with Season 5 upon us, it's time to make history all over again as they introduce the world's first international race series for electric production cars.
This 10-race championship will witness drivers from across the globe do battle in identical cars. So it will purely come down to driver tenacity and team tactics that will decide our inaugural champion.
The Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY race car has evolved from the production model, utilising every ounce of the 90 kilowatt battery. It has a top speed of almost 200 kilometres an hour, 696 newton metres of instant torque, and accelerates from 0 to 100 kilometres in just 4.5 seconds.
This series is not for the faint-hearted. These heavier, bulkier cars will be bumper to bumper around exactly the same technical, tight and unforgiving street circuit as the ABB FIA Formula E Championship. So expect things to get very close and very personal.
These are the moments that you want to go out and race with the other guys.
My teammate Brian Sellers and myself have been racing in the same series. We were battling this year for the championship. Brian just pipped me, so I have a score to settle.
And we begin right here, Saudi Arabia, and the historic Middle Eastern city of Riyadh. For the first time ever in the history of this championship, we find ourselves on a track in the shadows of the towering skyline of this developing metropolis. 21 corners, bumps, twists and turns stand between these drivers and our very first winner.
Hello and welcome to Saudi Arabia.
Yes, we're in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's capital city, a city which is steeped in history. And this weekend, Amanda, we're making motor racing history. It's a first. Tell us why.
Well, that's right, because for the first time, Formula E has an official support series. It's the Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY, and it's the world's first international race series for electric production cars.
It's going to be a special weekend, but there's lots to discuss. First of all, let's start with the track. Tell us about the track.
So the track is the same track that the Formula E cars are going to be racing on, and the series is actually going to be following Formula E around the world. So we're going to be racing on tracks like here in Riyadh and New York and Rome and Paris. But the track, these are street circuits, and I actually ran around the track yesterday and they were still building it. So it's going to be very dirty when they hit the track. It's going to be very challenging. There's all this sort of metal grids and things that are out on the road as well. It's going to be very, very hard for the drivers, particularly with a dusty track.
So if the track's difficult, and it's going to be difficult for the drivers, then there's one machine that has got to face up to the challenge. It's the brand new I-PACE eTROPHY car. Tell us about that.
So all the cars are the same. That's the first thing to remember. The drivers can make certain setup changes, but it's essentially based on the production car. So it's fast. It accelerates 0 to 100 kilometres in 4.5 seconds. So the car is fast. There's a lot of torque. But if the drivers make the wrong call on setup, it's going to really have an impact on them when they come into qualifying and into the race. So they can easily make mistakes and go the wrong way.
And the beauty of it is this I-PACE car is actually a production car. It's already out there.
It is, absolutely.
And there's a few tweaks and a few differences that have been made specifically so that the cars can race. But tell us about the drivers. Who are going to be controlling these cars?
So the drivers are going to be coming from all over the world. We've got drivers representing New Zealand, America, Germany, so you can pick your allegiance. And it's also the first time that men and women are going to be racing on a track together here in Saudi. So that's another really big moment.
So as we said at the top of the show, Amanda, we are making history. Not only have we got men and women competing against each other in Saudi Arabia, but this is a brand new car. This is a car that the drivers will not know 100% what it's capable of doing. And like we said, it's a production car, so therefore it's very, very similar to what you can get from your local showroom. So it's going to be really, really exciting. We're really looking forward to seeing the drivers competing. And speaking of the drivers, let's take a look at the list of runners and riders.
So here we are in Riyadh. Everybody is super excited to get this race underway, the first inaugural race, and we get to drive these beasts.
I'm very excited to race in my home country, especially it's the first round.
This is a unique championship, and I think one of the things that sets it apart most is the fact that it's the first of its kind.
So racing on actual streets that people drive on downtown city streets, you've got walls either side of you, you've got different curbing, you've got a very smooth surface.
These street circuits are really tight, really narrow. You're going to see bumper to bumper, you're going to see door to door.
You could literally be driving over manhole covers, driving past shops that you normally go to. It's just bringing the racing to the people.
These street circuits, there's just no margin for error. They're so narrow, and any little mistake can really ruin your weekend.
It's one of the things I think that drivers love the most is you get this opportunity to push a car to the absolute max.
These cars, they're all built exactly the same, so really it puts a lot of focus and pressure, I guess, on the drivers, and I'm really looking forward to that.
First time I drove the electric touring cars was astounding to me. Just the lack of noise. There is literally no noise, so you hear every stone ping up underneath the car. But the performance is just like a race car. Obviously they're heavy. The battery though is very well placed underneath the car, so the weight distribution is equal throughout the whole car. So they handle really well.
It is very unique to have electric race cars racing in Saudi Arabia, because you know Saudi Arabia is famous of petrol. It is like a huge step for us, and this is the future.
What's amazing about this series is that this weekend at this venue, a quarter of the grid are going to be females. I coach a lot of up-and-coming young female drivers, so hopefully one day they'll be able to come and race in this championship and back in Saudi and show what they can do.
I've always said the car doesn't know the difference. The car doesn't know whether I'm male or female, it is.
Great to have the home fan cheering for me, and hopefully we get a win.
Can't wait to get out and drive with the other guys. To say that I'm excited would be an understatement.
So the first ever I-PACE eTROPHY series is going to be getting underway fairly shortly here. And Diriyah, just outside of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and it's going to be very entertaining to see what these drivers do and how they perform and how these cars perform in their race as well. It's a fascinating circuit, that's for sure. There's been fascinating conditions earlier on today, and this track is going to be a real challenge. Here's a look at it. The start line is there, that's where the lights will go out, but then the actual timing line is a couple of corners later after the chicane of 18-19. That, under that bridge, is the timing line. That's where the laps will continue. It's a 25-minute plus 1 lap race. And then you come all the way down the hill. The circuit, that image doesn't quite show the elevation changes on the circuit, but you'll certainly see them in a couple of moments' time. So there are the cars making their way around behind the safety car because the conditions have changed quite a bit. Alongside me in the commentary box is Ho-Pin Tung, Jaguar Formula E's reserve driver, and Ho-Pin, yeah, a chance for these drivers to acclimatise themselves to the track.
Yes, absolutely. We saw the cars on track yesterday for the so-called shakedown and the free practice, which was held in completely dry conditions. This morning, a lot of rain on the circuit, which we've seen that affected also the ABB FIA Formula E practicing qualifying. Seems that the track is drying out now, so but still the 3 reconnaissance lap behind the safety car before we actually line up on the grid for the actual race start.
Yep, so the time has not yet started. Let's go down to Vernon Kay. He is in the pit lane getting ready for the start.
Thank you, Jack. Yes, I'm here with Amanda. It's been quite an eventful morning. The guys in the commentary booth spoke about it briefly, but what happened was we had a lot of rain overnight, we had a lot of rain in the morning, and that's kind of put everything back.
Exactly. And what that has now resulted in is, I mean, the start that we've got now, everybody is really a bit disappointed about that, because they're having to do their 3 laps behind the safety car. They're then going to stop on the grid. They're then going to start, but they're actually taking those positions from free practice. And there are a lot of drivers who actually spent the last few laps in the grid, in the pit lane rather, because they were preserving tyres and they were playing the strategy game. So they're out of position. We've definitely got one of the faster drivers up there at the front, but I know that Bueno was really quite upset about having to start back and forth.
He was. Earlier on, he was furious because as the rain was pouring and the track was getting more and more wet, he was like, I want to get out there because I need to qualify. I need to get closer to the front because I was preserving my tyres in shakedown.
Precisely.
But we've taken those times from shakedown, and that's how the grid is now.
He made a very valid point, which is, you know, it might rain at future events, and none of us have done any wet weather testing, so it's actually really important for us to get out there. But I think part of the problem is, you know, this is the first time the cars have been out. Yesterday in free practice, there was quite a bit of damage done. You know, people were really pushing the limits, and of course, just seeing what it's like driving these road cars, these production-based road cars. They are obviously adapted for the racetrack, on these very, very tight, very slippery, very difficult track conditions that we've got here on the street circuits. So there was damage done, you know, people are falling into each other, and what we really want to see is some very close racing. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
I think we're definitely going to get some very close racing because they have the same battery.
Yes, they do.
As the production car.
That's correct.
They have the same motor.
Yep.
As the production car. So this series, the eTROPHY, is all about how good the driver is. But it's not just professional drivers involved, is it? It's AMs as well, amateurs.
That's right. And what we've got, so we've basically got 2 races within the race. We've got the pros and we've got the AMs. And again, because of this situation that we had yesterday, with people sort of preserving tyres, they get 1 set for the weekend in free practice, thinking that they were going to get plenty of running today. We've actually got people out of position. So now what's going to happen is we've got some of the faster pro drivers behind some of the AMs. That's going to be very hard for them to overtake on. So, I mean, it's going to be very difficult, very challenging. I know people are just chomping at the bit. They were desperate to get out there, really, regardless of the conditions.
They really were.
I know, just to see what's going to happen.
There's been a couple of additions to the cars because some of them hit the wall, and that's gaffer tape. It's hilarious. Several of the cars have an extra layer of gaffer tape on various wings. Jack and Hopin, back to you in the booth.
Thank you very much, Vernon. Yes, we are about to get racing underway. Before too long, they will come around, line up on the start-finish straight, and then, or the start straight, I should say, and then the race will begin. I think Simon Evans might have just missed his point to stop there, so I think we're going to just do 1 more lap out on the circuit, and then get the race underway, as Evans it is who will start on pole position, the older brother of Mitch Evans, the Jaguar Formula E driver. He was quicker than Brian Sellers in the practice session. Sergio Jimenez third, Bueno fourth, with Stefan Radzinski completing the top 5. Then it's Alasai, Powell, Bin Cannon, Legge, Martin, Wang and Zhang, the 12 drivers that are about to take to the start. So Katherine Legge, Hopin, was the most disappointed driver out there because she had a bit of a bump in practice, thought no point carrying on, I'll go back, get it fixed. Then all of a sudden practice is the grid order and she's down in 9th.
Yeah, absolutely. Katherine did a lot of laps in the shakedown yesterday morning. Then when actually practice came, she had a small brush with the wall early on in practice. Didn't really go out anymore after that, which has really hurt her, obviously, for today's race, as the qualifying and starting positions were based upon that free practice. Different to a normal start behind the safety car, we will actually get the full race distance, although I see now, because of the extra install lap, there's been 2 minutes deducted. So we're going to have a race over 23 minutes plus 1 lap, but a standing start.
Yeah, so the cars will make their way back up the hill in a moment and line up on the grid. The fans see themselves on the TV and get ready. They're starting to, not a huge amount of fans this morning, but that's because it was just absolutely, I wouldn't have been out there, and I like racing cars, so it was absolutely miserable and there was barely any running.
You can still see the conditions being very slick, tire marks everywhere where the car is passing. Those are generally quite difficult conditions. Car unpredictable, sliding a lot. But yeah, let's see how the cars will do at the standing start.
Okay, so they're lining up on pole position. That is Simon Evans. He's got Brian Sellers alongside him on the front row of the grid. He's a good few centimetres behind where he could be starting there. That's Alice Powell, the guest driver for this weekend, trying to spot her lining up points. She's starting in 7th place on the grid, just behind the pros in front. And now all the cars are lined up on the grid. The medical car is in position at the back as well. Here come the lights, the first ever Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY Series races go! Good start from Evans, Sellers is coming with him, decent start as well from Stefan Radzinski, but Evans immediately comes over, covers the inside line, onto the brakes, into the first corner. Is there going to be any contact? Radzinski goes very, very deep into that corner and he's going to lose out to Alisai. So Alisai makes up a place. He's got the inside line for turn 20 and there's a little bit of a brush between them and somehow Radzinski manages to hold on to the place, but it is Simon Evans who leads in this 23-minute plus 1 lap race. Everybody else safely through the first few corners. Célia has dropped behind Wang at the start. Katherine Legge is already up the inside of Bin Cannon and going to go through into 8th place maybe. They get so close to the wall on the exit and Legge is very forceful there to take the position and move up into 8th place, but a good start for Simon Evans.
Good start for Simon Evans. We saw the two Brazilian drivers, Caca Bueno and Sergio Jimenez, coming together as well into turn 1, giving a slight nudge, but no further damage to be seen on the cars there though.
Down they come then through this descending sequence of corners all the way down the hill for the first time. Brian Sellers is right behind Simon Evans, isn't he? Evans taking a bit of a narrower line through most of the corners.
Yeah, Simon Evans knowing that in this twisty part, sector 1 and sector 2, it's fairly impossible to overtake. Drivers trying to get grips on the conditions, the ever-changing conditions now, I have to say. You can see some dry spots appearing. We generally tend to look at the color of the tarmac to spot where the grip is. You'll notice as well that some places, especially from turn 10 until turn 13, it will stay wet for slightly longer because the track there is surrounded by buildings. So even though there's not a lot of wind, the breeze generally tends to help to dry the track slightly faster.
Here is Simon Evans, then the race leader. He's on the 2nd lap of the race now as they come down into the right-hander. I should say he's starting the 2nd lap now. He's leading. Sellers in 2nd. Jimenez 3rd, 4th for Bueno, 5th is Radzinski, and Radzinski is trying to get past Caca Bueno there. That is the TWR Tachita car of the Canadian Stefan Radzinski, right up behind Caca Bueno in the Team Brazil Jaguar.
Cars still very close together after one lap. Something we've seen yesterday in full dry conditions, where lap times, top 6 at some stage were only separated 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, it was incredibly close, wasn't it? Alisai is in front of Powell in 7th, and then Legge is still behind Powell at the moment. And quite a way behind Powell, actually. She's not putting Alice under a huge amount of pressure as it stands. And this is the battle for 4th place then between Caca Bueno and Stefan Radzinski. Bueno, a very experienced driver, Radzinski a little younger, and there is Caca Bueno, dominant force in the Brazilian stock car series, but he's also raced in the Blancpain GT series, done the Spa 24 Hours, I think, so he's driven everything basically, hasn't he?
Yeah, very experienced driver, like many drivers here. A field that's made up out of so-called Pro and Pro-M drivers, where Alisai is actually the leader in the Pro-M class at the moment.
Hearing the tyres squeal as they make their way through, and Brian Sellers still right up behind Simon Evans as they come out to complete another lap. 19.5 minutes to go, and Sellers trying to make himself big in Evans' wing mirrors there.
Yeah, and Evans also making his car wide. You could see that in the sector 1 and sector 2 quite specifically. Mate's rooting for his brother, obviously. Also, there's a little trick, you know, trying when you come out of a corner, just trying to let your car go straight slightly longer, just so to let the car behind you know, I've seen you, I'm not going to let you any space, so don't try to make a dive onto me.
Here's Alice Powell, who we're on board with now, behind Alisai in their battle over 6th position. Through the right, through the left, and then down towards this little sequence of 12, 13 and 14. This is the left-hander of 13 and then the right-hander here of 14. She's putting Alasai under a bit of pressure here. Alasai in the Pro-Am class. Here's a replay of the start. So watch the two Brazilian cars then. Do they have a little bit of a nudge coming down into the first corner? The top two were fairly well behaved. And I think you just see that little dunk, don't you? As the two Brazilians meet each other. We'll see it better from this angle. So watch the cars in third and fourth place. Caca Bueno imagining they're going to break just a tiny bit later than they do, and there she gives it quite a big one, doesn't he?
Yeah, no further consequences though, although Jimenez looked like he got slightly out of sync there, and Bueno trying to get on the inside for the next corner, but didn't have enough momentum to do so.
Katherine Legge has just set the fastest lap of the race as she tries to close in on Alasai in front of her. I thought she got in front of Alasai and was behind Alice Powell. This is the replay on board with Alice Powell coming down into the first corner. There you can see Stefan Radzinski going in a little bit too hot. Manages to get the job done though. It was Simon Evans who held the lead.
Simon Evans very aggressive there on the curbs. Something we've seen in practice, the cars don't really seem to like. It's probably because the change that's been made from the I-PACE production car to these I-PACE eTROPHY cars, especially the front suspension, been made a lot stiffer.
So Alice Powell has got in front of Bandar Alasai, I think. So I think Alasai was in front, but Powell has managed to get through on the last couple of laps or so, and so she's now been to 6th place, and it's Katherine Legge who's the next woman to try and pass Alasai.
We just saw Simon Evans trying to take a slightly wider line on the entry of the last corner before the main straight, just to get that momentum on the main straight. Obviously looking closely to Brian Sellers in his spring mirrors and giving him no opportunity to make an attempt to overtake.
There is Katherine Legge who set the fastest lap of the race last time around. What are we looking at? Oh, this was the move from Alice Powell. Oh, decisive. Came out into turn 18. Job done. Good move. Here we go on board with it. She's quite a long way back actually.
Yeah, very nicely, very late on the brakes. Cars are equipped with ABS, anti-lock system. Obviously in these conditions very helpful, but as a driver, as you can see, you can still make a big difference when it comes to the braking distance.
16 minutes plus a lap to go, so we're not at half race distance yet. There you can see the different nationalities: New Zealand, American, Brazilian, Canadian, Saudi, Chinese, French, British, all in there and represented. Stefan Radzinski is right on the back of Caca Bueno still, so Radzinski doing a good job to keep the Brazilian honest. Still up at the front, it's just nose to tail between Evans and Sellers.
Yeah, Alice Powell being very quick at the moment, setting the overall best sector time, and quite rapidly closing onto Radzinski at the moment.
15 minutes remaining. There is Simon Evans leading. You can see there's top 5 on the left-hand side. The top 5 are all right together, and then it gets spread out further back. In fact, Alice Powell is pretty much on the back of that top 5 now. I would suggest as they get onto the brakes into the chicane.
Brian Sellers really keeping that pressure onto Simon Evans all the time. Simon not being able to afford himself a slightest mistake, which will definitely see him drop back behind Sellers. So yeah, just waiting for that little mistake. That's what Sellers is doing.
Hasn't come yet though, has it? Simon Evans doing a good job. So that last lap, they all pretty much did the same lap time. Still Katherine Legge there, unable to find her way past Bandar Alasai. 7th and 8th, those two at the moment. And Legge will be so frustrated to see her teammate Brian Sellers up in 2nd place just because of a free practice result. Here they come down the hill.
Yeah, this downhill part, turns 6, 7, 8, is a place what it seemed many drivers got caught out there yesterday in free practice, and also the shakedown actually.
And there's a little bit of a slide for Caca Bueno, I think. Radzinski might have wanted a little look into turn 14, not really an overtaking opportunity, and as a result, Alice Powell now is right on the back of Stefan Radzinski. So I think Radzinski's tried one there and it hasn't worked out, and Sellers is really close to the back of Simon Evans as they come up the straight. Powell is close as well to the back of Radzinski. Any move this time from Sellers? Not quite. But Powell might be going here on Radzinski up the inside, and that's 2 places gained now for Alice Powell. She's carving her way through the order, started 7th, now up into 5th position in the guest car, and proving why she's a very impressive. Here's Radzinski replay. He's a bit far back there, isn't he?
Oh.
Bueno did well to hold on to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Got a bit of a nudge there. Good catch though from Bueno.
Look, he looked in his mirrors. We're all fine. We're all... Oh, hang on. Where's he taking his hands off? Oh,
yeah, on the main straight.
Oh, he's on the main straight now, yeah.
What was that?
Yeah. I don't think Radzinski would have seen that from where he was, but nevertheless, it makes Kaka feel better.
Something you also don't really won't like to see as a driver, or feel as a driver, not just because obviously it's going to cost you time, but these cars are relatively heavy. You really need to be careful driving these cars, not to overheat the tires, and a big slide like this quite gives a lot of temperature into the rear tires, and you could see Kaka Bueno also the few corners after that struggling with oversteer in the car actually.
12 minutes to go, I should say, plus 1 lap. Bueno now is a long way off, and we'll see whether Alice Powell now can try and close in on Kaka Bueno. She was pretty much similar on that last lap. Alasai is... and Legge is past Alasai then. So Katherine Legge has got past Alasai. So that's a good move from her. And Radzinski, I think, has dropped behind the 2 of them. Oh, Evans covering the inside line. Can't quite get it done. So all changes of position in 6th, 7th and 8th. So Legge and Alasai. Firstly, Legge's got in front of Alasai, and then they've both got in front of Radzinski. So I wonder if Radzinski has maybe picked up a bit of damage from that contact with Bueno. It didn't seem a particularly hard hit, but I don't know.
Might have just hit the steering rod of the car, and maybe the steering is slightly offset, which obviously, especially in the twisty part, will really cost you some precious lap time. Evans not really seeming to be very happy at the moment with his car. Looks like Sellers is definitely quicker at this moment, but yeah, finding a way past is obviously always a bigger challenge.
Sergio Jimenez is right there as well, isn't he? So he's just a little bit further back, just keeping an eye on what's going on, and he'll be ready to take advantage if anything happens. So Alice Powell has made up 2 places. Katherine Legge has made up 3 places. Radzinski now looks like he's settled in a little bit, but he lost. I wonder if Radzinski outbroke himself into the chicane or something like that, and that allowed Legge and Alasai past. But we still don't know how Legge got past Alasai in the first place.
Yeah, Radzinski's first sector time isn't very fast either.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's perhaps, as you said, struggling with some damage on his car. Alice Powell, meanwhile, the fastest car on track, and still closing in to Kaka Bueno.
She was 4/10 quicker than the race leader Simon Evans on that last lap. Very, very good stuff from Alice Powell, and she was 7/10 quicker than Kaka Bueno in 4th place. So carving her way up the field as we tick down to 10 minutes to go now. Warning flag for car 18, which is Stefan Radzinski. So I don't know what that warning is for, but maybe it might have been for that attempted overtake actually, wouldn't it?
Seeing the pace of the cars at this moment, it makes me wonder whether perhaps some of the drivers have actually gambled to go on a setup on the car which is slightly more suitable for wet conditions. Not many things can be changed on these cars. A standard production, I mean, all same cars for all the drivers, minor things to be adjusted, anti-roll bars, tire pressures, shock absorbers, but you can still make this little bit of difference for a wet track and a dry track. So maybe that's why Simon Evans at the moment is slightly struggling relatively compared to Sellers and Jimenez.
9 minutes plus a lap to go. There are the top 3. They've been glued together since the start of the race, basically. And Alice Powell is closing in on Kaka Bueno as well. But still, there was that one moment, wasn't there? A couple of laps ago where Evans really defended coming into the chicane. But every other lap, he's seemed fairly comfortable. There is Alice Powell. in the phosphor blue guest car. See there, Evans is pretty happy.
Yeah, Bueno seemed to have lost a little bit of momentum when he got the step from Stefan Rosinski, but now he's regained himself, just set the quickest middle sector of the race and his personal best lap time as well.
Yeah, so that's good stuff from Bueno. We'll see what this lap does as he comes out of the final corner. They come across the timing beam, and actually Evans sets the fastest lap of the race at 33.7, but then Bueno goes quicker on a 1 minute 33.6, which is 4/10 quicker than Alice Powell. So I think fifth may be the highest that Powell is able to rise, but again, to be behind a 5-time Brazilian stock car champion is not a bad effort in the first time, because you've never driven the car before either, Alice Powell. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah, there's a couple of drivers in this field, Powell being one of them, that have actually never tested this car before arriving here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Rudzinski now has dropped behind, or is about to drop behind, the two Chinese drivers as well, by the looks of things. At the moment yeah, he has now, hasn't he? He's behind both of them. So in 9th place is Tao Wang, and then behind him is Yashi Zerek. And now Rudzinski down in 11th with Célia Martin completing the 12 runners, and she's a little bit off the back. And
those three drivers will be racing hard together with Ahmed bin Kanan, because that's actually for the 3rd spot, the last spot on the podium of the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, it's Bandar Al-Asai who is leading Pro-Am. You can see the classes on the tower on the left-hand side. The blue background is Pro, the white background is Pro-Am, and the black is guest driver, which is Alice Powell. But here come the top three again with 7 minutes plus a lap to go, and they're still all right together. And Sellers, do you think Sellers is feeling frustrated at the moment, or is he quite calm and happy to be following this closely, or do you think he'll be getting sort of wound up and desperate to find a way through?
No, I think Sellers is just sitting there waiting for his opportunity, for actually Simon Evans to make a mistake somewhere, keeping the pressure on him, trying to force him into that little error that will lose him the momentum, and then being able to accelerate past. We've seen a lot of these drivers struggling, especially if you start to push hard with this car. On the entry of the corner, going into the corner, the rear tend to step out quite easily. That's leaving you in moment. Like here, for example, Simon just running a little bit too wide on the entry, losing momentum, but still being able to keep it away.
Into turns 16 and 17 now. The brakes, trying to get back on the power as early as possible. You're actually on the power almost halfway, almost in between 16 and 17 there.
It's quite close now again, friends. As you can see, Simon Evans covering the inside line a little bit.
Again, Sellers with the stars and stripes on the front for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing team. Just not quite able to find a room, to find a gap. So swing into that right-hander at 21.
You can see some really dry spots appearing and dry lines start appearing down the circuit. Lap time still not exactly where they were in free practice yesterday, but yeah, rapidly dropping.
I'm surprised actually how long it's taken for the track to dry. I think it's because there's still quite a lot of cloud cover. It's not exactly baking hot, but there you can see where it's clearly dry, but I expected it to be drier than this.
Yeah, and especially crucial, of course, in these conditions, as soon as you go offline. Very slippery, picking up dirt onto your tires as well, and that will take a few corners to clean them up again.
4.5 minutes to go. If anything, Sergio Jimenez is the closest of the three drivers at the moment. There he is in car number 10. Third in this queue. He looks closer now to Sellers than Sellers is to Evans, and that's probably the first time in this race that that's happened.
There's Gary Mauser, chairman of Jaguar Racing, watching closely.
Sergio Jimenez is going to be watching closely here. Does he go for it? Thought about it, but decided in the end to just relax a little and hold on to that third spot for the time being. But now Sellers has got to look in front and look behind. Still Simon Evans, the Kiwi from Auckland, leading the way.
Can't afford himself a single mistake though.
This is Sellers, where he'll be checking his mirrors every now and again now. Through the left and through the right at turns 1 and 2.
Here you can see on the sector times how close it is. They're just glued together in terms of lap time as well.
And they are, well, Jimenez on that last lap did a 33.3, which was 0.3 quicker than Sellers. So I don't know whether there was a mistake somewhere on the lap for Sellers. We didn't see it evidently, but he was the quickest man on the track last time around, Jimenez. And also Alice Powell took another half a second out of Kaka Bueno. So after Bueno looked as though he'd sort of got back on the pace a bit, now Alice Powell is coming back at him. Less than 3 minutes to go now, plus a lap. Into turns 16 and 17. Really neat through there from Jimenez. From all three of them, really. Look how close they are. Still just a little too far away from each other to be really confident of a move. Sellers strong on the brakes, though. Shot this of the whole sequence of corners from the chicane onwards, and then Jimenez really strong on the brakes there.
It's actually almost a strategy as a driver that you choose sometimes. If you know a driver behind you is far behind you enough, you kind of tend to brake slightly earlier and then put all your focus on getting this good exit, because you know he'll not be able to catch you on the brakes, and having that exit nailed means that he will also not be able to be in a position to make a move onto the next corners.
Less than 2 minutes to go. Simon Evans leading, Brian Sellers right behind him, Sergio Jimenez in third place. A Kiwi, an American and a Brazilian. That last lap, Alice Powell, well actually Katherine Legge was flying on that last lap. She did a 33.0, way quicker than anyone else really.
Yeah, it sadly shows for her as well what could have been without that crash in free practice yesterday.
Impressive performance from Legge. Here come the top three again. So this is now, they're about to start the penultimate lap of the race, I'd have thought. Sergio Jimenez, is he close enough to Sellers here?
He's having a look, but...
Oh, Sellers is so... I say it every time at that corner, but it's really impressive every time how late Sellers is on the brakes. Jimenez still right behind him. Through turn 21, and this now is the penultimate lap of the race. So 2 laps to go in the Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY. Incident involving Chang and Wang will be investigated after the session. So those two have had a little bit of something.
Yeah, they probably have got together.
Another fastest lap of the race from Legge. 0.6 of a second quicker than anyone else, so she has hooked it up now.
Probably is gambled with the setup as well for more dry track rather than the rain rainy condition in which the race started.
These three really getting close. There goes Jimenez up the inside of Sellers. Great move. Jimenez forces his way through into second place. That's the move Radzinski tried to pull earlier, but Jimenez has pulled it off beautifully.
Yeah, actually a place where not many people expected to be able to make a move. Also when we walked the track earlier this weekend. But yeah, beautiful clean move. Just Sellers opening doors slightly too much, and then Jimenez not hesitating for a single second and going for it.
So Jimenez up into second place, Sellers down into third. That may be enough to give Simon Evans the gap he needs. That's Kaka Bueno in fourth place in the other Team Brazil car, Jaguar Brazil Racing. And that, like I say, as Simon Evans comes out to start the final lap, might be enough to just give him that buffer. He comes across the line almost a second clear of anyone else. That's the biggest advantage he's had in the whole race. Katherine Legge does another fastest lap of the race. He's flying. Here's the move, hoping.
Yeah, great executed. I think Célia was too focused on Simon Evans in front of him, trying to get best line possible through that corner, not being able to defend from the attack from Jimenez.
Yeah,
well executed.
Yeah, that was on board with Sellers as he saw that unfolding right alongside him. And I don't think he's going to be close enough now because he's got one more shot maybe up into the chicane and he's not close enough to do what Jimenez did to him last time around. But it looks as though Simon Evans, if he can just negotiate these last couple of corners, should be able to hold on. Bueno in fourth. Alice Powell has dropped back a little bit from Bueno. That last lap, only a tenth of a second, but somewhere the gap extended back up to 1.8 seconds. But here comes Simon Evans now towards the final few turns in this Diriyah circuit. Gets the chicane hooked up. Exits now towards turn 20. You can hear the applause starting to ripple around the circuit. Simon Evans about to make history by winning the first ever Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY series. It's the checker flag and the win for Simon Evans. Sergio Jimenez across the line in second place. Brian Sellers in third. Great job from Jimenez. Bueno in fourth. Another great job from Alice Powell and Katherine Legge. Didn't start where they would have wanted, but both of them fought their way up the order. There to win Pro-Am is Bandar Al-Asai. A good drive from him, solid really to win Pro-Am fairly comfortably. Alice Powell is in Pro-Am, but she won't count for Pro-Am Championship points as she's the guest in the series, so she wins Pro-Am technically, but Al-Asai will take all of the championship points. Across the line then came Bin Cannon, Wang and Zhang, all together actually in quite a close race. And there comes Célia Martin, her first ever race, maybe even?
Yeah, first ever race, the true rookie in the championship here. Weekend got heavily compromised by a brush of the wall in free practice yesterday. But yeah, got valuable experience under her belt now for the next one.
Yeah, so a good performance from her. And across the line comes Stefan Radzinski to finish in 12th position. And do we think the car's crabbing a little bit? Or?
Yeah, it looks like the left front wheel is not entirely aligned anymore. Pointing towards the inside slightly too much, which obviously compromises the handling and the speed. But here we see Simon Evans sticking his hand out of the window. Very happy, of course. The first ever winner of the Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY.
12 cars, not the biggest grid ever, but really good in terms of quality. Simon Evans to beat Sergio Jimenez, who was Lewis Hamilton's teammate in Formula Renault all those years ago, to beat Brian Sellers, who won the class championship in IMSA last year, to beat Bueno, a 5 times Brazilian stock car champion. It's very impressive and he is well deserving of those round of applause. He said he's won a lot in New Zealand and Australia, but he wanted to come and prove himself or test himself on an international stage, and I think he's done that.
Yeah, very strong performance. Of course, big pressure the entire race from Brian Sellers and Sergio Jimenez at the end of the race, but not a single mistake despite all this pressure. So very strong drive in what was not very easy conditions as well.
No.
Drying circuit, always hard for the driver to judge, and especially when you are that driver that's first out in front, the first driver. If you brake too late, overshoot a corner, the other drivers know to brake earlier. So yeah, never an easy place to be in.
So the cars now make their way back towards the Jaguar setup, the sort of special Jaguar pit lane, which is over to the left-hand side. They wind their way through. Célia Martin returning to the pit lane as well. The AM podium will be Bandar Al-Asai, Ahmed Bin Cannon and Tao Wang. And there is Bueno just looking for where to park.
Yeah, Bueno, who will be slightly disappointed, of course. Felt his starting place was quite compromised after qualifying not happening, of course, this morning, and then getting that nudge and dropping him back.
So Simon Evans the winner, Sergio Jimenez second, Brian Sellers third, and Vernon Kay and Amanda Stratton are down, ready to receive the winners of the Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY.
Yes, you're right, Jack. We are ready to receive them. They're just getting out of their cars. What a race. What an overtake.
What a race. I am so glad that actually they got through that race. I think people were very nervous going into this because, of course, everything has been disrupted this weekend because of the rain. I am so glad that they've actually had that race. We've seen some great passing, we've seen some really close action, and we saw no major incidents.
I think you're right, Amanda, to mention a big sigh of relief that it didn't get stopped. We saw the whole 23 minutes of racing, which was good, which also stands the new race format in good stead for this afternoon with the Formula E racing, where it's time and not laps.
Exactly.
So they did 23 minutes and then a lap. We'll try and get Simon over. He's just high-fiving his team as we speak. But congratulations to them. I'll tell you what, let's go and join him. Let's go and join him. Come on, follow us. Here he is. Let's get his helmet off and what have you.
Oh, lots of hugs.
And then he'll come and have a chat.
Lots of hugs.
Oh, he's going to get Wade.
Oh, of course.
I would imagine.
Actually,
Yep, there you
James
go.
is here very quickly. I'm going to grab a word with him. James Barkley, you must be absolutely thrilled with how that all panned out.
Oh, it's a fantastic race, wasn't it? A 3-lap, clincher right to the end, and a great move by Sergio with a lap to go. So no, well, that's exactly what it's meant to do. Just introduce really close racing, really good racing, and I think they did a fantastic job. A clean start, real professionals the way they behaved, and it's going to be an exciting season by the looks of that.
And we saw some terrific passing as well.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, some great moves. Powell made a fantastic move early in the race, and Sergio's route move was kind of the decisive one towards the end there. So no, great racing.
It was very close. And Simon is here as well.
Yeah, Simon, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we just with that rain, our car wasn't the best compared to what it was yesterday, but I just had to make do with what I did and make sure I got exits clean and that, new braking's pretty even. So if I concentrate on my exits, and I did that, and because I knew Brian had better pace than me, and probably so did Sergio, but I managed to hold him off in the end.
Tell us about your setup and tell us what the difference was between yesterday and today in the wet. What did you do? What did you change?
I sort of anticipated the car to dry the track to dry a lot quicker than what it did, and obviously a lot of dirt has come onto the track as well. So it was just my car was just a bit loose, but yeah, we'll know next time we race in the desert if it rains what to do.
I don't think anyone knows what to do in the desert when it rains because it very rarely rains.
Now, Simon, it looked very much at one point like Brian might have the legs on you. He looked like he was definitely breathing down your neck. You must have been quite relieved when he then got past towards the end, because then you managed to pull out a bit of a gap.
Yeah, I sort of saw just in the corner of my mirror Sergio have a dive, and I thought, that was enough just for me to put my head down. And I didn't even know how many laps we had to go, so I was like, I need to make the most of this because he did have better pace than me. But with that little bit of breathing space was the biggest gap we had all race, and I needed to sort of capitalise on it. And I did for a lap or two, but he was definitely coming.
I think Brian thinks you are a very wide Kiwi.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Breathe in.
Yeah. Your dad's here as well. Come on in, Mr. Evans Senior. Congratulations. You must be really pleased.
Oh, wrapped. Come over here and into the desert and a bit of rain and that sort of stuff, and have a good weekend like this. Good start to the weekend, and he's just put a bit of pressure on Mitch. But
and I'm about to say now, Owen, listen, you've come to quite a few Formula E races before, and we've seen Mitch definitely getting closer and closer. You must be absolutely stoked, though, to have one of your sons actually on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, it's just tremendous, and a great event like it is here, and to have the a pole and a race one for the brand new series, it's fantastic, and we're wrapped. And of course, back home, Simon's back home, so it's even better for us.
Even better. Going to get many more Jags sold. Well done. Listen, huge congratulations.
Fantastic. Yeah, congratulations.
Okay, Alice is here. I think we might grab a word with her. And didn't she have a strong performance?
Alice, what a race!
Yeah, it was good fun. Really good fun. I knew I had to get a good start, and the car was absolutely amazing in the first half of the race. Started to get a bit greasy and slidey towards the end, so I could see Katherine was catching me, but I nearly hit the wall a couple of times, and I could see the front few fighting, but I just didn't have the pace at the end there to get on.
Let's just explain what it is that you're a guest in this race, right? And of the amateurs. So what does that mean? Just explain for everyone at home that doesn't know.
I think it's just a one-off race. So Jaguar invited me kindly, and I've been out of a car for 3 years, so to come back for Jaguar to give me this opportunity is amazing, and to the new era as well. And it was so much fun.
But you have an academy, don't you, that teaches young kids how to drive?
Yeah, I've got some young karters. Ella Stevens, I think she's watching, so I'm sure she can give me some tips actually of how I got on there. But it's great to have the young kids coming through, because they're going to be the next generation.
Now, just one question I've got for you. At one point, I don't know if it was actually still the case because we had to make our way from the pits over here, but at one point it was the fastest laps were being traded by you and Katherine. I mean, I can't emphasise. It is girl power. I think it's really significant actually that we're starting this here in Saudi. B, a quarter of our grid was made up by girls, and C, the two of you really did put on a tremendously strong performance.
No, it's a shame that we didn't have qualifying. You know, I was getting used to the car, and I would have liked to start a little bit higher up.
Just because you actually, this was the first time you sat in the car, wasn't it?
Yeah, first time I'd sat in the car, so it was a totally new environment to me. And it's great that obviously me and Katherine were exchanging fastest laps. And yeah, I'm just so pleased of how the result went. Obviously, I would have liked to have been a little bit higher, but you know, it was a good race.
And you made some really cracking overtakes as well.
Well, like I said, I knew on the first early laps that the car was really good. It felt really good under the safety car. So I knew I just had to chip away, and the first few laps obviously make the move and make my way forward.
Well done you.
Thank you.
Go and get a glass of rosewater. Fantastic stuff. Vernon, I think you may have caught somebody else.
Yes, I've got Sergio. What an overtake. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. It was a good move. I was fast, it was good. And the track, when it was getting dry, was better for me, for my style, for the car I set up, and then I catch them. I always was a little bit faster than the both, but the cars are so same, so equal, so it's very difficult. And I could have a good move there in Brian. I could do that as I was fastest all the time, and I could do a good move.
What did you see that Brian did that gave you the opportunity to overtake, give you the open door, so to speak?
Well, they both start to be sliding a little bit more, so that's my time. And my car was okay in that moment, and I catch them. It was very fast, and then Brian slipped a little bit, and that was, I said, it's now or never. So then I lost a little bit time in evens, open a little bit. And the last lap I closed a lot on him, but in the last turn I forced a little bit too much, and then I lost again. Maybe I could move in the last turn, but anyway, it was okay for the first race. P2 is not bad. We are very happy to be here.
All right, very good. Now, because the car is pretty much the same throughout the whole series, throughout all the competitors, what did you change for your setup, and what can you change as a driver?
You mean to drive for wet?
Yes.
Well, the tires doesn't need much change, because the tire is like a street tire, kind of course, for a race. And then I will not tell my secret here, but we can change something like bars, wing, and dampers and things like that. So we made a mix there, and it was good.
All right, thank you very much. Amanda is with Brian Sellers.
Well, Brian, for so long you were chasing down Simon. It looked like you may have been able to take a few opportunities to pass him earlier on. He was certainly making his car very wide. And then right towards the end, you dropped down to third.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I think what happened is in the sector onto the straightaway there, Simon had a little bit of a bobble, and I thought, this is my chance to set up and maybe make a run at him. And of course, as soon as I set up, it's Sergio's best run into that sector. And I looked in my mirror, and as soon as I pulled left, I thought, there goes second, because I could see he had a run, and he was just able to make that move. I think we had a really good race car. I think we had good speed, and it was a good race. The top three. I mean, we were right there, and I have to give credit where credit due. I'm super upset that we didn't get second, but it was a great move by Sergio. And sometimes you just, sometimes you get caught off guard, and today was that day.
Now, you've been really strong in all the sessions leading up to this today. I know everyone has very strong feelings about the way the race had to start using those free practice times. What do you think you actually could have achieved had we had all the running?
Who knows? I mean, really, who knows? I think that what you saw today is literally the top five are covered under a blanket. So I'd like to think that if we went into qualifying that I had a shot at pole, and maybe it would have turned out different. But I think there's at least four other guys that feel exactly the same way. So I think what it does tell you is that the series is going to be fantastic in terms of racing. I think it shows how close we can run. I mean, it's the closest I've run in a race car nose to tail for that duration for a long time. So I think what they've done here is fantastic, and wish it would have been better, but looking forward to the next. Happy to be here with RLL and go on to the next.
Right, well, you've got to make your way over to the podium, so we're going to say goodbye to you. Now, Vernon, I know you actually drive one of these cars.
I do.
We're allowed to say that. Are you going to go home and...
as well.
I mean, now you can actually go home. You know what? It's all capable. It's all possible.
Yeah, the most interesting thing is the fact that these cars, the race cars, the cars that we've just seen on track, have exactly the same motor and exactly the same battery. It's the suspension that's a little bit different, and obviously...
And the driver.
All right. Wow. Threw me under a bus there, Amanda. Yes, it is the driving. I'll give you that. Okay. But it's really exciting for the future of this race series, and more to come, I think. So, Jack, back to you. All exciting down here.
That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was a very, very close race as well, wasn't it? And great to hear Jimenez and Sellers in particular loving how close they were able to run. Here's a look at the results after the first ever Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY event in Diriyah. Simon Evans taking the win, 0.8 of a second ahead of Sergio Jimenez for Brazil, with Brian Sellers completing the podium. As far as the Pro-Am class is concerned, Bandar Al-Asai taking the win there ahead of Ahmed bin Khaned and Tao Wang. And Alice Powell doing a good job in the guest car to finish in 5th. Katherine Legge set the fastest lap of the race. Célia Martin finishing in 11th place. Stefan Radzinski picked up damage as he was trying to make his way up the order, trying to get into 4th place ahead of Kaka Bueno. Got damage and finished down in 12th position.
Yeah, amazing to see that after 16 laps of hot racing, only 5 seconds separate the top 5.
And I think if you're Alice Powell, you're going to be very happy that you finished 5.5 seconds back, considering you've done a whole, this is the first time you've ever sat in the car, and these guys have done some more testing. Here's a look at the points then. In the pro class, Simon Evans is on top, Sergio Jimenez in 2nd position, Brian Sellers 3rd. Obviously, as it's the opening round of the season, that's all. They're just obviously in their race results order, aren't they? And the same is true of the Pro-Am class, which is Bandar Al-Asai ahead of Ahmed bin Khaned, Tao Wang, Yachi Zhang and Célia Martin completing the 5 there. So that's all to play for now, going into but a long way to wait until the next round opens up.
Yeah, absolutely. The I-PACE eTROPHY Championship not supporting the next 2 rounds of FIA Formula E in Marrakesh and Santiago, but will be back in Mexico. And especially I think where Katherine Legge will be looking to make her point there. Super fast in this race, setting the fast lap time by quite a big margin compared to the others.
So that is the conclusion of the Jaguar I-PACE eTROPHY series. Very entertaining stuff.